Takedown. This is a match. Ely Cassis is playing on the table nearby. I don't believe it's next to them, but I was also playing. If Ely loses, this match is for top 8. That one's easy.
Yes.
If Ely wins, then Korey McDuffie is eliminated, and Craig Krempels, with a win, maybe gets in. Then it's become... So, an update, Ely Cassis has won his match. So, I don't know if these players are aware of this. It's very likely that Korey McDuffie is playing for 9th place at the moment.
Okay. Lucky for Craig, he is up the game here. So, you know, McDuffie possibly playing for 9th. 9th place, of course, a great finish in an invitational tournament. Craig looking to close here. McDuffie's list is pretty interesting. This is what we usually see out of Korey McDuffie. He's not one to play stock lists. He's playing a deck with 4 Jace Finch Prodigy, 2 Snapcaster Mage, 3 Thopter Foundry, 2 Sword of the Meek. He has a couple Lingering Souls in his deck, which is a card I think is quite well positioned right now.
It's a very Korey McDuffie style strategy. Blue-white, sit around, do stuff.
And he has 4 Ancestral Visions in his Thopter Sword deck, which is something that Ari Lax was advising against in his premium content in Star City games. You don't want to play an Ancestral Visions that just draws you into maybe one relevant spell.
You want to draw some Terminates and some Cryptics.
Right.
You don't want to draw some Serum Visions.
You don't want to draw Ancestral Visions, Sword of the Meek Land, for example.
Yeah, it's not really... It's good in an attrition game plan, and Korey's not actually an attrition deck.
Right. He's pretty dedicated control with a few elements that can play an attrition game.
It's interesting, and I think one of the things you touched on here is you would think Korey, this deck with a really hard-to-disrupt win, right? Thopter Sword, and with Ancestral Visions, all this card advantage, would be great against a mid-range deck, right? But Craig won game 1. And what's Craig doing? He's just playing Abzan. He's just playing good cards that are hard to answer. And Korey can draw 3 cards, but if those cards don't answer Lingering Souls, it doesn't matter.
You know, if I have Lingering Souls on turn 3 and I curve into Siege Rhino, you know, maybe you have 1 turn with access to your Visions cards. Maybe you didn't suspend it on turn 1. Maybe you die with the Visions on suspend.
All right, so breakdown of the top 8. We have currently 6 players in. Logan Mize, Ryan Fleischer, Jerry Thompson, Max McVitie, Andrew Main, and actually 7 players. Jameson Purdue and James Wager, all in top 8. So 7 players. And I'll tell you what, this fight for the last spot is really a tiebreaker battle between Daniel Ward, Ely Cassis, Craig Krempels, and maybe Korey McDuffie.
That's really intense.
Yeah, they're the winner of this game. Daniel Ward and Ely Cassis are all going to be within 1 percentage point of each other.
We're going to need a pretty good drum roll for this top 8 announcement.
The first 7 are set.
Right.
Those guys are nice.
Congratulations to all of them, of course.
Yes. But, oh boy. This is what happens when everybody starts having draws.
Yeah, this is a real sweat.
So, we'll go ahead and look at the sideboard. One thing I want to know about the Abzan deck is how does it interact with the Esper Thopter Foundry combo?
So, you can Abrupt Decay Thopter Foundry, which is something that McDuffie just has to accept when you cast it. The question is, how much mana does the Esper deck have access to when you destroy the Foundry? How many Thopters can they make in response?
Now, other question first. Does Korey McDuffie have any copies of Academy Ruins?
Indeed he does. There is 1 Academy Ruins.
So Craig would have to blow up the Academy Ruins, then blow up the Thopter Foundry. Maybe the better plan is to just, you know, I think out of the sideboard, it looks like he has a Surgical Extraction. Maybe just go that direction, or Curse of Death's Hold.
Curse of Death's Hold I like quite a bit more than Surgical Extraction.
So the Curse of Death's Hold, he still, yeah, he doesn't, I don't believe he even ever gains it just turns off the combo.
So you don't ever get a creature that actually checks out as being a 1/1.
So the sword doesn't come back.
So the sword won't trigger. Right.
All right, we're underway. Game number 2. McDuffie is down a game. He's on the play. He'll start on Serum Visions. For Craig, it is a turn 1 Inquisition of Kozilek, so we'll see what Korey's working with. And one thing he's working with, looks like he has, yeah, he's got a grip here. So we'll lay it out here. It is Jace Bellerin, Vendilion Click. That appears to be a Lingering Souls of Korey's, Sword of the Meek, and then 2 copies of Creeping Tar Pit. So a really slow mana base. Now, I'm not sure Craig will be able to punish that.
No. Korey is off white, so for a minute that Lingering Souls will be stranded in hand.
Now, Korey did scry a card to the top here. A white Mana Source seems pretty nice.
Indeed. Third land untapped, so he's able to play Jace or Vendilion Click on time is also something that he's looking for.
Craig going to write that one down. Now he decides what he wants to take here. Looks like Vendilion Click was selected. And for McDuffie, he'll draw, play a Creeping Tar Pit, and that'll be it. We go back over to Craig, and it's his first threat. It's a copy of Scavenging Ooze. And just to mention, that's actually another way to interact with Sword of the Meek.
Yeah, you can target the sword when it's in the graveyard. You force McDuffie to have another artifact to sacrifice in response, but he has to have one for every green mana you have access to.
And for Korey McDuffie, he plays a basic Plains that he had found, now plays Jace. Bellerin pluses it. Both players draw a card. The Planeswalker goes up to 5.
And with the Inquisition targeting the Vendilion Click, the Scavenging Ooze could potentially be attacking Jace for 3.
Yeah, you think if Craig left Korey the Jace, he was fine with this happening on turn 3?
Right. You know, he knew when he's playing Scavenging Ooze that the Jace couldn't just come down in minus. So both players have drawn a card off of it. He's not too concerned about that position.
No, both players having a card. I'm not even certain who it favors in this matchup to have both players draw.
Yeah, I think that depends a lot on how hands line up, and Craig has the advantage of knowing what's in both players' hands.
At a certain point, if Korey has more card advantage than Craig, then Craig kind of likes having a plussing Jace in play. It lets him keep pace.
Exactly. So if Korey is able to assemble his combo, you know, he can make as many flyers as he has access to mana, but outside of that, Craig has more Lingering Souls than McDuffie has, so he can generate quite a bit of card advantage himself.
For Krempels, Abrupt Decay will take care of the Planeswalker, then he plays a Hissing Quagmire.
Yeah, had to think for a little bit about whether or not he wanted to beat that chase in combat. He does know that McDuffie's hand isn't really doing a lot. So getting the Jace off the table, disabling Korey from drawing more cards, he decides is his priority.
Yeah, Basic Island is the play for McDuffie. He still has Sword of the Meek and Lingering Souls, along with Creeping Tar Pit in his hand. Looks like he may have picked up a Snapcaster Mage in the meantime.
Yeah, not doing anything too exciting just yet. Snapcaster on Serum Visions is among the weakest Snapcasters there are, but in the face of Scavenging Ooze, you probably just pull the trigger to get that value while you can.
Yeah, Craig is tapped out, so Korey's not going to get too many opportunities to Snapcast anything. All right, question you're wondering about that land drop here. Korey was asking if he had played the island already. The judge ruled yes, so Korey's forced to play that land. I think what he saw here is that he's not going to use that last mana, so he wanted to play the second Creeping Tar Pit.
Exactly. And, you know, this is a competitive REL tournament.
There's something on the line here, right? So he'll Serum Visions, and look at his Serum Visions found another Serum Visions, so he'll do that, some scries. And this is something you said where cantrips kind of find more cantrips. You see this scry of the Serum Visions as a third Visions and a Jace. It's, these are all good blue cards, but I don't know how, they don't always get you places.
Yeah, these are powerful cards in their own right, but
there's that danger when you play all the good blue cards, you draw lots of cards that don't do anything.
There's a lot of good blue cards that don't interact with each other. For example,
I have a problem that I want to play all of them all the time.
Ancestral Vision and Snapcaster Mage don't exactly synergize. You can't flash it back.
I like drawing cantrips with cantrips. It's, you know, I feel powerful when I do that. It's look at all these good things I'm doing.
So
I ponder on Preordain.
You can't wait to start playing the Goggles deck.
That sounds great. I wish it tapped for blue.
Yeah, that would be
then
excellent.
I play it in, you know, Legacy. Brainstorm in between the copies, crack a fetch land. Oh.
Spend one turn using High Tide to cast Goggles.
This sounds great. This sounds great. And then you can turnabout. You can untap the Goggles and then copy turnabout with the Goggles. Yeah. Oh man, this is great.
Sign me up for that.
Scavenging Ooze is going to eat away the Vendilion Clicks to go back to Krempels' turn. This is his turn 4. So Korey goes to 15, and then Krempels will crack a fetch land for follow-up plays.
So Krempels knows about Sword of the Meek in McDuffie's hand, and he knows that he both needs to find Thopter Foundry, and even if he has it, McDuffie would only be able to make one Thopter on the following turn.
Yeah, he's got to get rid of that Scavenging Ooze first if he wants to go full combo with the Thopter Foundry.
Right, so right now, what Craig wants to do is just get as much pressure on the board as possible.
So interesting things here I actually wanted to point out. This Thopter Foundry deck, we were kind of waiting whether it would do well. Jerry Thompson making the top 8 with Thopter Foundry. We have Korey McDuffie here. Ely Cassice's opponent, Christopher Stagno, was actually on blue-white Thopter Foundry as well. So a real breakout tournament for this strategy.
Yeah, it's a very powerful interaction. It was really a question of who and when more than if. Especially in the format without Splinter Twinner anymore, there just has to be some kind of combo that you can be playing. And some people thought that it should be Scape Shift, and other people are leaning towards the Thopter Foundry.
I don't know who thought that. Scape Shift did horribly this weekend.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't have recommended that. All right, for Craig's turn, after making the ooze into a 3/3, he makes a pair of 1/1s with Lingering Souls. We go back to Korey for turn 5. You don't have to have a combo if you want an army of 1/1s.
That is indeed true. You can just play one card and get 4 of them.
Right. That's basically Thopter Sword.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And Korey's going to have more Snapcasting on cantrips. Once again, capitalize on the fact that Scavenging Ooze has remained tapped. He'll Snapcaster into Serum Visions. Scribe both to the bottom as 2 more basic lands.
And those were the only 2 Snapcaster Mage in McDuffie's 75, and he used both of them on Serum Visions, which is about the most embarrassing card to Snapcaster. But given the Scavenging Ooze, his hand was forced.
I don't see what's embarrassing about Snapcasting a cantrip. It means you cast more Serum Visions. It's
Indeed,
great.
That's exactly what it means, in fact. It doesn't mean anything else in any way.
Especially if you're always scrying to the top with it, then you really don't feel like you're doing anything.
Yeah, it just, okay, I was going to draw that card, and I'm going to draw these cards. I guess I did one of them a turn early.
Hey, Merfolk plays Silvergill Adept.
Yeah, it's a 2/1.
and Snapcaster Mage.
That doesn't have the ability to cast Path to Exile in any capacity.
A swing back on Krempels. The 2 Snapcasters will jump in the way of Scavenging Ooze. It's a trade. Craig accepts it, and 2 damage comes across. Korey down to 13 from the Souls tokens. Now, as Craig's board gets bigger, if he wants to flashback Lingering Souls here, does Korey actually have ways to sweep this?
So in the main deck, it looks like there was nothing going on. Not even seeing Engineered Explosives there, which is interesting with the Academy runes in the main deck.
Oh, wow. I'm going to pause here for a second. Craig with a Haymaker out of the sideboard. It's a copy of Stony Silence in play.
Yeah, McDuffie with that Sword of the Meek in hand, that's not going to be comboing anytime soon.
But, okay, so going back to the question, though. So, not really.
There's the 1 explosives in the sideboard.
And that's it. Otherwise, he's really counting on the Thopter Foundry.
Yeah, and he has a Supreme Verdict as well.
Big play here by McDuffie. His 1 blue mana up was able to cast Spell Snare. It's a 1 of in his 75 to squeak by that Stony Silence and leave the combo intact. Craig's follow-up, a copy of Scavenging Ooze. And Korey's going to play in flashback Lingering Souls on the untap. Once again, he's taking advantage of the fact that Craig has been tapping out of green.
It was definitely curious that Craig was willing to trade away his Scavenging Ooze when he knew about the Sword of the Meek in Korey's hand.
Yeah, but he has a second ooze.
It was telling, not just because of the Stony Silence, but also the second ooze. So he had that covered in a couple ways here.
The last one up at the top is the 4th Spirit token. There's too many souls here. Maybe they'll have to trade.
Yeah, I recommend that these players trade so we can have a clear board state.
Inquisition of Kozilek on Korey McDuffie. It's Sword of the Meek, Jacevin's Prodigy, and, well, Serum Visions. That would be, what, the 7th one that Korey's played this game? Okay, he's going to take the Serum Visions.
He took Jace there, it looked like, I thought.
No, you're absolutely right. The Planeswalker's gone.
And that tells me that Craig does not have a removal spell in hand, so that makes a lot of sense. If he had something like a Path to Exile, you could pretty safely just take the Serum Visions.
Well, here's another thing here. So I guess it also gives more food for the Scavenging Ooze. So you see he's going to swing here. He has 3 green mana sources in play, so that now Korey, I don't even believe he can gang block up on the Scavenging Ooze.
Yep, it can become a 5/5 this combat.
Yeah, and Craig will do just that. It's Jace, Snapcaster, ooze up to a 5/5.
Yeah. Craig did already have his other Scavenging Ooze in his graveyard, so making it a 5/5 was available this combat.
Okay. Korey drops down to 8. Souls tokens were traded. The ooze hit in for 5. There's still the flashback of Lingering Souls in Craig's graveyard. I don't believe he's cashed that in yet.
Right. He's waiting. He doesn't have to just yet. Doesn't want to get wrecked by something like a Wrath of God.
And how much is that card advantage thing? We talked about how Korey has Snapcasters for Serum Visions, Ancestral Visions, all these extra cards. Craig is drawing 1 card a turn, but you look at his board, 5/5 Ooze, Lingering Souls, Shambling Vent in play, Hissing Quagmire in play. Korey draws all these extra cards, but you still feel like Craig has more.
And at this point in the game, Craig is putting McDuffie's life total under significant duress. And a lot of these cards that help Korey pull ahead on card advantage are now terrible draws. We just saw him scry an Ancestral Vision to the bottom.
Yeah, well, I think he wants Thopter Founder. I think he needs the combo has to be the thing that saves him.
Yes.
So he'll scry both his cards at the bottom. Did not find the second half of his combo just yet. Okay, he put the last copy of Serum Visions on top of his deck. Well, that's fair. That digs him deeper.
Right, that one he can actually cast and will immediately help him find something.
Plays Jace Vryn's Prodigy for the turn. Leaves up enough mana to activate Creeping Tar Pit, but he'd have to crack a fetch land to do it and get rid of that Serum Visions on top of his deck. That's a big price.
Gets rid of Serum Visions on top and also shuffles that Ancestral Vision back into the deck.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's resolved so many Serum Visions this game. The question is, actually, and becomes mathematically significant, how many non-Thopter Foundry cards are right now on the bottom of Korey and McDuffie's deck?
Right, non-Thopter Foundry and also just generally dead draws.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 7 or something like that. And shuffling 7, I mean, imagine you had like 7 blank cards and you shuffled them into your deck and then tried to top deck. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to draw one of them, but you could. And 7's a big enough number that you care.
Your odds get worse in a relevant way.
We will see how this plays out. We go back to Krempels. He's got Korey down to 8. He has a creature land in play. 2 of them, a Scavenging Ooze. He's going to start with a swing of the 5/5 Ooze. Korey may be on chump block duty, and I don't think he can't kill it just yet. So 1 Spirit's going to jump in front.
So at 8, I think McDuffie has to make the block right there. No Lightning Bolts for the Abzan deck, but 3 Siege Rhinos.
Yeah, it's Lightning Helix.
Yes.
Better than Lightning Bolt. Because it's green.
It's a Lightning Bolt and a Healing Salve.
Well, that's the flavor of Lightning Helix. It's like, I always like that when you have spells that are actually just look like you took two creatures and, pasted them together.
Yeah. I really enjoy how there's Mind Stone and then Hedron Archive.
See, the first place I went was that vanilla 2/3 Minotaur, and then the vanilla 4/6 Minotaur that was the price of exactly 2 of the 2/3s.
Yeah, you're right. That is very exciting design.
Yeah, he glued 2 of them together. Now the creature's twice as big. And it costs twice as much, exactly. That makes sense. Craig's follow-up is Liliana of the Veil. She's going to plus. Now, Korey, yeah, he can discard Sword of the Meek, which at first doesn't look relevant, but now, if Korey actually draws Thopter Foundry, he doesn't have an artifact in play to start the combo with.
Right.
With Sword of the Meek in the graveyard, Lingering Souls would get the sword out of the graveyard, right?
Yeah, you get a 1/1 coming into play.
Yep.
So that's still 2 top decks, though.
It's 2 cards, right. We go back to Korey. Now the Scavenging Ooze is in play. There's a green mana open for Krempels. So Korey discarded the Sword of the Meek, and Scavenging Ooze threatens to eat it away. A loot from Korey. He'll activate Jace. Does Craig respond?
So it looks like there are exactly 4 cards in McDuffie's graveyard.
So
Now,
he wants the Jace to flip. Okay.
So you ask yourself, would you rather he had the Planeswalker or the 0/2 in play?
If Craig wants Korey to have the Planeswalker, that is so bad news for Korey. It's saying, no, get rid of your blocker. That's all that matters.
Right.
I got you. A fetch for Korey down to 7 for Basic Island. And I suppose
yeah, the fetch land in play, that made that a non-issue. Korey did end up having that decision, I suppose.
But still, the -3 on Jace doesn't do anything. Scavenging Ooze is still in play.
Right.
Korey's going to activate Creeping Tar Pit, it looks like. He'll attack. I assume Liliana, she'll go down to 1.
Yep. Turn that off from Edicting on the following turn.
And Jace will shrink down the Spirit Token.
Choosing the Spirit Token because the plan and hope is that his Spirit Token will be able to chump block the Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, on end step, Scavenging Ooze will eat away the Sword of the Meek, and now that he took down that green mana, Korey will use his last card, which is a Dismember on Scavenging Ooze. That's a great move there by Korey. He was very fortunate that he was able to get rid of the scavenging because it was already exactly a 5/5.
That is in fact much better than waiting to chump block with a spirit token.
Wow, so maybe Korey bought himself a couple extra turns there. Ooze is gone, Jace is at 6. That could be the turnaround Korey's looking for.
We might have ourselves a game here again.
We'll see, Korey's at 5. All right, a spirit token, the one that's not a 0/1, that one will attack.
Checks out.
See if Korey trades. He does not. Looks like he goes down to 4. And Maelstrom Pulse on the Planeswalker. A +1 from Craig. Both players discard. Well, they're both empty-handed, so that doesn't really do much.
That Maelstrom Pulse off the top was pretty big, though.
The soul's gone from Craig's graveyard now, so he's just looking at those creature lands. And you know, in the battle of creature lands, Creeping Tarpit is really one of the better ones. It's great at pressuring these Planeswalkers.
Great at pressuring Planeswalkers, but right now, a lot of this game is just about a damage race on actual life totals.
Yeah. Liliana taken down by Tarpit, Jace played by Korey, and to pass, we go back to Krempels. You have to think, a slight hiccup there where Craig allowed the Scavenging Ooze to die, but now he's going to go back into the driver's seat.
Yeah, with he has a Hissing Quagmire and a Shambling Vet hanging around ready to help his attack.
He'll go for the Lifelinker, so the 2/3 attacks along with the Spirits. 3 damage comes in, McDuffie down to 1.
On the following turn, McDuffie will be able to flip the Jace plus on the Spirit and use Creeping Tarpit to block Shambling Vent.
Oof, okay, all right.
So he's not dead yet.
If Craig has a land off the top, he can activate both creature lands.
Right, with the land being the last card of his hand, he's now live for that.
Yeah, Korey's hanging on by a thread.
McDuffie has the option, if he has another land, he can use both Creeping Tarpits to block both creature lands.
As long as it's not a fetch land. Okay, he'll discard a fetch land. That's good. It's better than playing it.
I like the discard on the fetch land.
Jace becomes a Planeswalker. 5 loyalty. Yeah, he's got these great 3/2 blockers. Okay, +1 that shrinks down the Spirit. Okay, he's took care of one attacker. Now he gets to play something. How good would Lingering Souls be right now for Korey?
That would be phenomenal.
It's not tapping the white mana though, so maybe not. He's gonna pass. We're back to Krempels. Does he draw? Even a land is good here as long as it doesn't come into play tapped.
McDuffie was posturing a lot. Oh.
How about Siege Rhino? That's a lethal spell here. Korey's gonna survey, and he's got nothing. There's the handshake and the win for Craig Krempels. So at 12-3-1, he defeats Korey McDuffie.
The card is rotated out of standard, but Craig Krempels reminding the world what sound a rhino makes.